And Darkness Live Tribe, here we go. I don't know. Sounded good. Sounded good in my head, I guess.
That sounds just wonderful. Christy, hi Christy. Christy's watching with us.
What's up, everyone? How's your Monday been? I hope Yoda's Monday has been okay.
You know what? Speaking of Yoda, this is funny. So today I went in and I got fuel, and I went to like pay, and the dude behind the counter goes, "Oh, you're with the Alliance," and I was like, "What?" He goes, "You're with the Rebellion Alliance, aren't you?" And I was like, "Excuse?" And then I was like,
You're not used to people getting
I'm not used to people like noticing my Star Wars tattoo, and yeah. So.
Oh man.
Yes. Well, Christy, hope you had a wonderful Monday. And I hope this evening it'll just make your Monday even better. So, yeah. Well, what did you have? What did you do today? How was your Monday? Fantastic.
Oh, it was all right. Got some stuff done out in the shop this morning. Sophie played outside for a while and didn't do much this afternoon because it's kind of a mess in the afternoons around here.
Oh,
with
I can
the
imagine.
Afternoon schedule. So,
I can imagine. Christy, I was going to tell you, your like little picture you're very pretty. Isn't that a good picture of her? Her little icon thing.
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful, honey, beautiful. So we had a really great weekend. Went over to stayed at our farm and good captain's on. He was getting the vibes I was sending him, right? And what was really cool. Hey, Tiffany's on. What was really cool was we picked Buckeye. Like, probably, I'm going to guess there's probably over 600 Buckeye in that bag.
Yeah, so there's probably, I'd say 20, 25, 30 pounds maybe.
However many that is. But yeah, there's like a ton. Like, I was so excited, guys, because growing up, my grandmother always had Buckeye in her pocket. And for those of you who don't know what a Buckeye is, I don't even really know what it is. It's just like this brown seed pod thing. Well, it comes in a pod, I guess, and you split it open, and it's these brown seeds. And
it is technically not a nut. I found that out today. It is a nut type seed. That's how it's classified.
Well, my grandmother.
And they are not edible unless you roast them.
I don't want to ever eat one.
If you don't roast them, they are toxic.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But if you roast them, it denatures the toxins, and you can make almost like a peanut butter type spread out of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so my grandma would always have one in her pocket, and she'd always be like, "Stephanie, do you have your Buckeye in your pocket?" And if I didn't, she'd always make sure I had one. And then, like years later, find out the reason she kept them in her pocket was because I don't know, some old wives' tale, whatever, that Buckeye are good for arthritis.
They actually have chemicals in them that are it's a natural pain reliever.
Really?
Good for like rheumatism and arthritis. So
I did not know that. Well, that makes sense why she would always have one. But yeah, so I
think it actually has to be ingested to make use of that, though.
Well, so I always had a Buckeye because of my grandma. And then what was cool was on Sophie's 3rd birthday, we were picking Buckeye out over at the farm, probably the same place she picked it when long years ago. And yeah, now we have this gigantic bag full, like huge bag full of Buckeyes.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we had a really, really great time over there, and kind of the wheels have started to turn with ideas for that place over there. What we're going to end up doing with it while we're over there. Well, not while we're over there, like, hey, Claire. But you like how I just popped that in the middle of my sentence. I'm like, oh, hey, Claire.
Well, yeah, I mean.
You didn't expect anything else, right? So that was a good weekend, and celebrated the 3 girls' birthdays, and you're never too old for a piñata, apparently. Because
it's at this time it was more like piñata baseball than it was an actual piñata.
Yeah, that's true.
Thing.
That's
true. It was because we couldn't keep the piñata hung up. They weren't using a broomstick. Number one, they were using a tree branch. It was about the size, the diameter of a baseball bat, and about twice as long.
Right.
So it was kind of comical.
It was. So
had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Did you see any spooky shit over there this time?
Yeah, I got nervous. I went out to go pee in the middle of the night, and I got this really odd feeling that there was something over in that same area that I always get the feeling like there's something over. Yeah. Well, I don't know the directions at night over there, but you know what I'm talking about?
It's to the
I just felt like something was watching
west.
me. I just felt like something was watching me pee.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that's where the gate. That's where the gate is. That there's that gate there. If you open that gate, you can go down the road that used to go over to the old house until the bridge washed out. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that was. I'll never forget when I went over there, and it was like, oh, there's no way to get across. There's no way to get across. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we had a lot of fun and rode the 4-wheelers, and what all did we do? We fished and we hiked and we camped, and we did not do s'mores, however, because it's so dry over there. We couldn't risk lighting a fire.
Well, I wouldn't have minded doing a small fire for, just big enough and long enough for s'mores, but in that little fire pit that we've got over there, but we just never really took the time or the chance to.
I even took the stuff for s'mores, but it didn't happen. Anyways, so
I had on Saturday morning when I took the 4-wheeler out exploring. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of times. I can't really put my finger on it. There was just a couple of times that the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I just really felt like I was being watched. Mm-hmm. Which is something that's happened to me quite often over there. I'm still trying to figure out if there's Bigfoot over there, or if it's spirits of the land over there, or what.
Does that feeling is it kind of like you're going about your day or whatever, and then all of a sudden you realize something's off, or do you see something and then notice, hey, I feel like something's going on?
No, I usually.
Which is first.
I usually. Well, I mean, it can. It can happen either way, but most of the time when
that made my night.
Like when I'm outside, in situations like that, most of the time it's gonna be that I get the feeling first, and then I start paying attention to that, so.
Oh my God. I love that song. It's weird. It's forever, I thought it was like a romantic song, And people who are not aware of what I'm talking about, we're talking about the every move you make, every breath you take, I'll be watching you. Yeah, I used to think that was romantic. Yeah. No. It's really not. It's actually pretty disturbing. But yeah, so Carl, that was awesome. The good captain came That's through. Awesome. Yes. Yeah, pretty much. I thought Sting was there because I just got this eerie vibe in the middle of the night, and I couldn't see shit, And I literally at one point thought, some coyotes could be just coming up and just ripping me to shreds, and here I'd be caught with my pants down, right? Oh my God! Hey, Kenna.
Well,
Kenna's watching.
I intended to, go have a little fun scaring the girls, because they were sleeping outside in the tent.
Friggin' Lennon did that. He scared the shit out of all of the kids the first night they were out there.
Yeah, I know. I would have done a better job of it, though.
He did.
But I just never got up and went and did it, so.
He attempted it. He attempted to scare them.
They evidently beat me to the punch on Saturday night because they we woke up Sunday morning and they were all already up in the cabin. So
I really wish that he would not have done it while Sophie would have been out there, though. Like, I wish he would have done it when Sophie was not out there with the other girls.
It evidently didn't bother her.
Well, true. Let's get our guest on. Talk about our guest. I feel like we're just rambling. Let's get our guest on. I'm pretty excited about this episode.
So our special guest tonight is a good friend of ours, Brandon Callahan. He has been a close friend of mine for going on 9, almost 10 years now. Yep, right at about. I mean, we first started talking about 10 years ago, and at the time, I was my team, which before all this went down, my team was Legacy Paranormal Research Group. My team was the Kansas representative for Everyday Legacy or Everyday Paranormal, which is the team that the old Discovery Channel show Ghost Lab was about. They had a nationwide network, kind of like the TAPS family. And
what's TAPS for people who don't know?
The show Ghost Hunters, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society.
Okay.
TAPS is an acronym for that.
Okay.
So, and that is the team that is on that show Ghost Hunters.
Okay.
So, let's see here. I'm trying to get his picture pulled up here. Come on now. And there we go. So, Brandon's team was the Missouri representative for Everyday Paranormal. And so that's kind of how we met up and, started chatting a little bit. And then in February, actually it was more like January 2011, he hits me up and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm, just working, going home and hunting ghosts." And he said, "Well, what would you think about you and me just climbing in a car and driving for about a week and, seeing what kind of crazy shit we can get into?" And I said, "Well, yeah, okay. That sounds like fun. I could be down for that." And next thing I know, he's got it all planned out. And I'm just kind of, thrown. We had dates set in the whole 9 yards. And so, yeah, it was like the week that I remember it was late February, but it was the week before Mardi Gras. That we were on the road. And I know that because New Orleans is where we turned around and came back from. We spent 2 nights in New Orleans, and then we found a whole bunch of other really cool stuff between, there and home. And it was amazing. One of the most profound cases I've ever been a part of has sprouted from that trip. And, of course, we'll be talking about that, I'm sure. Another thing I will say is expect technical difficulties tonight. It almost invariably happens every time I get Brandon on the phone. I don't know, there's just something about the chemistry there or the energy or something. Something always happens when we get Brandon on the phone. He's also written 2 books that I'm sure we'll also talk about, although it may not be, the entire focus of the evening. Let's see here. That's not what I meant to do. The Agony That Remains, and The House Where Evil Lurks. And they're really good books, the stories he tells in them, which are 100%. What's the words I'm looking for? 100%
accurate representation.
Yeah, I mean it's his story. It's his story. The stories that he lived and he experienced it, and I was lucky enough, and a couple of the viewers tonight, Ben and Claire, also were lucky enough to be parts of these stories. It was just
that's really cool.
It was really amazing. So. Carl's running interference tonight, so maybe we won't have the tech issues tonight, but we'll see. We'll see. So. Without further ado, let's go ahead and let's bring this camera angle back here and let's try to get him on the phone.
Ring-a-ling.
Huh?
Ring-a-ling.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, I should put my ears in, huh?
Yeah, you probably need those.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
And it started already.
Yeah, it's started already.
It has
Am I going to have to I'm going to... Oh, shit.
Just a second, people.
Give me just a second.
Problems.
All right. Try this again here. Note to self, do not say the numbers out loud.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Try this again. Why is it not? It's not connecting the call. What the heck is the deal? What's the problem?
I don't know.
We may have to go.
There's the phone number right there.
I've got the phone number. Let me see. Yeah, I've got the phone number. It's not. Try this one more time. And then we might have to go old school.
What does that mean? Is it calling? Maybe?
It's trying to call.
Well, I shouldn't be laughing. Oh. For real?
Yes, talk for just a second.
Okay. So Christy and Claire and Lena and Carl. Do 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 do.
Talk.
I can't think of what to talk about. There's a ginormous orb weaver on Sophie's playset thing in the backyard. It's huge, guys. It's like the biggest spider I've ever seen aside from a tarantula.
Yeah, great big.
It's huge. I said that right. Orb weaver.
Yeah, it's garden
spider.
Garden orb weaver.
Carl jinxed us. We're trying, man. Bear with us.
I have good. I don't know why it's saying this. I have good internet connection. Let me refresh this.
Oh Lord.
And then we'll try it again. But yes, that garden orb weaver is huge. It's one of those really pretty yellow and black. I mean, it's huge. Its leg span is probably a solid 3 or 4 inches. Okay, let's try this now. Maybe that'll be our technical hiccup for the night, and we'll just have
it. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Out of the
and
way.
Lena says, cannot wait until December. May have to do another Monday segment in between.
That'd be cool.
Lena, you're welcome anytime, as you already know that. Sorry, guys.
There it goes.
The Lord.
There it goes.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Brandon.
Can you hear us?
How's it going?
It's good. It's going good. I was just talking about how there's a gigantic orb weaver in our daughter's playset out back, and I didn't say this before we got you on the phone, but she came running up to you. She said, "Mommy, creepy spider, creepy spider."
Very, very nice, very nice. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah,
I'm on a Bluetooth connection.
Yeah, I think we're hearing you just fine here. And they should be hearing you good out in viewer land, according to the numbers I'm seeing. So,
fire.
Say what?
Huh?
Oh, I thought you said what'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying we usually chat for a minute before you put me out into the wolves. So here we are.
So yeah, we're good. We're live. So sorry about that. We're a little bit off kilter tonight. I couldn't get my IP phone service to dial out there for a second. So
it's whatever, man. No worries. I've been watching Chiefs, so it's all good.
Oh my God, we must be important to you if we got you away from the Chiefs to do this. Wow.
Hey, some of my favorite people. You know?
I feel very honored. Thank you.
You should. You should, absolutely.
So what's going on, man? How's it been going?
Oh my God! I mean, what last time we talked was pre-everything, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's going completely chaos, and but you know what though? I've been really lucky. Like Nicole and I have been able to work, and we actually just moved not too long ago. So hey man, you're not going to hear me complaining.
That's kind of the boat that Steph and I are in. We never missed a lick of work over any of this, and some of the other folks that sit in on our special episodes, Darkness Tavern, Max and Jamie, they're in the same boat. They never missed any work. This all actually hasn't been as bad for us as it has for a lot of people, and that we're really thankful, really blessed with that. So,
oh yeah,
and it's like you gotta just understand. well, I work my day job, I guess. I mean, I work in retirement, and man, I've been exposed to the folks that have lost everything, lost their jobs, lost, not to mention I work real closely with a lot of government type plans, and so I work with a lot of cops. I work with a lot of first responders and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I've seen it all from day one and been right there, and it's tragic, but we try to press on as best we can, but like I said, you won't hear me complaining. I'm a lucky dude.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Same with us. So, what have I know, and I kind of have a sense of this because we did chat briefly about this, not terribly recently,
Right.
but do you still have any projects going on, or did this kind of put everything on hold for you?
The main project we were filming, which, man, I mean, we were catching so much momentum, and it was right when everything shut down. We kind of had to rein it in because we got to travel different places, and you don't really know what to expect, and the hotel situation and all that kind of shit.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, though, when it ultimately gets wrapped up, it's gonna be pretty phenomenal. I mean, what we caught on camera was something like I've never seen before. It was, we're talking about holy grail shit, like wow. And
Wow.
I can't wait to finally wrap it up. I mean, you were down there, and so you got a taste of kind of what was going on, and I think there's been a big shift in the energy down there.
Yeah.
But man, we went back to that cemetery, and oh my God, I mean, what we got was just crazy.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
now my curiosity is piqued.
Well, then we'll probably have to.
Well, hopefully everybody's will be, because I will say this: through all of this stuff, I have really, really gone away from the whole social media thing. As far as Facebook,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you a bit.
I feed off the energy, and I can't feed off that energy right now. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty well off the radar at the moment, but that doesn't mean I'm not working.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I know that night that I was down there with you guys, some of the stuff that happened that night was just insane.
Well, and you know what? It was different. It was different than anything I had really experienced. I mean, we saw what happened, and we talked it through. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I talk about touched by an angel. I mean, you happened to be there, because frankly, the four of us, or the three of us, would have we'd have been at a complete loss. I mean, you were right place, right time, right person. And I think that was by design. I mean, everything that's ever happened down there feels like it was all by design.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so it was pretty intense. I had never really. I've had these kind of personal encounters before, but never really. I guess never really lost my own consciousness. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that time I did. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I mean, you guys kind of took me under your wing and everything, and always eternally grateful for the friends I have. That was a little bit intense. I had never really experienced anything quite like that.
It's from the minute we set foot on that place down there that day. Of course, you guys got down there a little bit before I did, and I kind of traveled in. Lingered in, a little bit later. But from the moment I set foot on that place, the energy there was different than I had ever experienced in that location. And it was there was something way different about it, and I wasn't able to put my finger on it right off the bat. I just knew it was different, but it was
Yeah.
not necessarily in a good way, but you couldn't really feel it right off the bat in a bad way either. But then it kind of made itself known a little bit later that night, and wow, it was intense.
Hey, Esty. Esty's watching. Hi, Esty. So I gotta ask both of you a question, just for somebody who might not have any clue what you guys are talking about. So when you're talking about, you get there. No, you're fine. You get there and you step out or whatever, and the energy just describe that to me, because so like for somebody who doesn't experience the energy thing, like what you guys are talking about, can you explain what you mean by that? Does that question make sense?
No, it's a great question. It's going to be a little difficult to explain, though. Actually, hold on, just one second.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm talking to my friend.
Why?
Because they asked me to talk to them. So I'm going to talk to them. I love you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Aww.
Oh. Okay, sorry about that.
Aww.
So, yeah, she's pretty sweet. What can I say? No, Stephanie, it's a great question. And the thing is about that place, in my opinion, Jeremiah and I went down there for the first time of anybody, and there's been a lot of people that have gone down there since. And I was going down there over the course off and on of well over 5 years. I mean, this was a pretty involved investigation, and resulted in a book, and may ultimately result in at least one documentary, if not another book. And so when we first got down there, just when Jeremiah and I stepped out of the car, I think one of the first things I said to him, we're in this wide open space, we're outside, it was a little bit of a chilly day, but I think one of the first things I said to him is I felt like I was claustrophobic. I felt like there was just a blanket of some kind of energy that just sort of hovered just above head level, and it was claustrophobic to me.
Oh man.
This last time, well, and the thing is that was also when I was coming into my own as far as feeling a lot of this energy. Like I've learned that place taught me a lot. It helped me start to develop the trust in my gut, and it turns out, I work with and thrive off of and listen to the energy around me, and it seems to be really, I guess, productive when it comes to what we do. And so we went down there this last time. We hadn't been down there for a couple of years, and one of the brothers had died not too long before we went down there, and the whole place, it didn't have the claustrophobic feeling to it, but it still felt like there were eyes on you everywhere. It's always had the eyes on you feeling, but it was just a little bit of a different, almost like something lurking, just sitting in the shadows. It was a little bit intense, but it didn't feel quite as active to me, at least right away. I don't know about you, Jeremiah, but it didn't. It felt like things had kind of simmered down a little bit, but you could still feel this like intense, like looking into your soul, like there's eyes everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have to agree with that, and that's so, I just to put it in perspective a little bit, the first time that Brandon and I ever showed up there.
Where is there?
This is on. I'll let you describe that, Brandon. I don't know how much of specifics you want to get into with that.
Sure. Well, it's the book was written. The property that we're talking about right now was the Allen property down in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And obviously anything and everything in the book is fair game. It's all public knowledge. when we kind of get into the stuff we were filming and kind of experiencing when Jeremiah and I were talking about this night in particular, that I had a little bit of an intense experience. We can't really get too much into detail on that. It's all on film. It's all documented, and eventually it's going to come out. But yeah, this is from the second book that I wrote, based on the Allen property, and so that's where the heart of the original investigation came from, and it's at this point it's really kind of stemming out from there.
Right. Yeah. It's the book that he's talking about is The Agony That Remains.
Right.
And I've got a picture of that. It's the original cover of that book up on the screen right now for them to see. But so to kind of put it into perspective, when Brandon and I very first rolled up on that place, we had been there maybe 20 minutes the very first time we ever set foot on it, and inside that first 20 minutes, I saw a full-on, full-body apparition in broad daylight, mid-afternoon.
Yeah. It's so funny. The only way I could describe it, like I looked at you and I was like, "You look like you've seen a ghost." And sure as shit, here we are.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's quite the welcoming wagon.
Steve.
Go ahead.
No, it was insane. Like I said, we're there, I don't know, an hour, and next thing you know, it's here we are. That was the first of, that particular night that we went down there originally, I don't know, I kept trying to think back to the house. You came down to the house down near Jeff City, and that was one of the more intense places I'd ever been. I've had some active nights, but man, that first night when we were there, the level of things that were happening, I haven't even remotely come close to anything like it ever since.
Right.
It was just complete chaos.
It was crazy. Just everything, from the stuff, and it's so much different, so many different types of activity. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But then to go from that experience to the feeling and the energy that you got when we first pulled up there, this last time that we've been kind of talking about, that was it was a completely like I said earlier, it was like there was a definite shift in the energy, and Brandon said that as well, a definite shift in the energy, but it was kind of hidden. It was kind of almost like it was lying in wait. What are these fuckers going to do this time? And what am I going to have the chance to do to them? More to the point,
let me expand on that just a little bit. Maybe I can pinpoint this a little bit better. So when we went down there originally, I did feel like there was an anticipation of our arrival in a way, because I think what's down there is extremely, extremely intelligent. Mm-hmm. And so I think there was an anticipation, and I think it almost put on a show for us that first night.
Right.
Now, when we went back down there after that long layoff, honestly, I kind of came to the conclusion that it was a little bit more personal and a little bit more targeted. As opposed to, maybe not wanting to be just captured on film or audio or something of that nature. I felt like there was a point to be made, and the point was kind of directed at me.
Right. And
it hadn't really been that way. There were some kind of personal interactions and stuff like that over the years, but this it wasn't as intense overall. But when shit hit the fan that night that we went down there most recently, it did. It felt like it was pretty targeted.
I would have to agree with that, because Well, yeah, I mean, without getting into too much detail, that's all I can really say. Is that yeah, it was definitely, I think, very targeted at you, which
Yeah, and
is
so
kind of unnerving in and of itself.
it is. It is. It's not my first time in a situation that I kind of felt that way. But yeah, it was a little unnerving to the point that I think it was unexpected because having gone down there so many times, knowing to expect the unexpected was just common. It was just the way we had to deal with that place. Everything was so random. You knew something big was going to happen almost every single time, but you just had no idea. If you went down there looking for one thing, 10 different things, not even close to that one thing would happen, but they would all be crazy.
Hmm.
And so, when we went down there that last time, it was almost like it was eerily quiet. It was, like I said, it wasn't that overall feeling of the place. And when it did happen, it kind of struck real fast, and it kind of just hit me right between the eyes.
Right.
And then not a lot else happened. I mean, it was kind of just a weird vibe, almost just like, hey, here's one last punch to the face, and now we all move on our way. If that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. That was just. I mean, I can't wait to see what you what you're able to put on film out of that, because it's just that night, and I know you guys went down there other times and did other stuff aside from just when I was there. But I can't wait to see what you guys came up with overall. It's just that case has been. I mean, I think for pretty much everyone that's ever been there and involved in investigating that location in any way, form, or fashion, that case has almost been like pivotal in their, career as paranormal researchers.
I couldn't agree with you more. And the cool thing is, your role's not done, by the way. I still got more up my sleeve for you. We're not done.
Just let me know when and
you're
where.
Not getting off that easy.
I'm down.
I know you are, because I won't give you a choice in the matter. But in the end,
I support
bottom
this.
line
I
is
support.
what we have. Yeah.
She said, "Please get him out of my hair. Get him out of my hair."
No. Yeah, that's why I'm outside in my car rather than inside, because Nicole would be saying the same thing. Like, get this dude out of here.
Yes.
But no, I mean, what we've just compiled so far, really the trick of it is, you want to do justice with the story. Of course, we're not going to glamorize anything or Hollywood anything up or anything of that nature, because really it's not needed. But yeah, so far what we've got is just phenomenal. And I think when we bring in a little bit more of the history and a little bit more of, interviewing people that have come from all these different places in history that from the Cherokee to the Civil War and everything in between, it's just a place that is magical. Like, it's
right.
Just you know me, I always go back to the ley lines, and I always go back to the vortex, and I always go back to energy. And what we did is we found just a massive hotspot of unexplainable energy, and over so many years, it did. And everybody that went down there, like you said, Jeremiah, everybody that went down there in some way, shape, or form was affected.
Yes.
Somehow. And most of it was pretty intense. Like, I know I've talked to a lot of people that were like, holy shit, that entirely changed my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that kind of a place. It was a really intense place.
Dang. Hey, I have a question for you, Brandon. So prior to the trip you and Jeremiah went on, Was there anything that you were still kind of skeptical about? And then after that adventure, I'll call it an adventure. After that adventure, you were totally sold on like, yep, I believe in that hands down? Or did you pretty much believe in all of it prior to that trip?
Well, so, the reason I started doing all this, I had a couple kind of weird things happen over the course of time, especially when I was overseas. And I always grew up interested in anything and everything, ghosts, monsters, haunted, and this and that. But I never even thought about going out there looking for it. I never even considered it. And then when I had a couple minor experiences when I was overseas, I started getting a little bit more, interested in getting out there, because I've always been the type of person that if I don't see it or if I don't experience it, I've seen a lot of great evidence online and on TV and everywhere else that I just can't 100% get on board with, because it wasn't me. And so
Right.
the reason I started doing this is because I'm that guy. Like and the thing is, I'm not doing this to convince anybody, because in my idea, or my ideal situation for a paranormal investigator, you shouldn't take my word for it. You should take your lazy ass out there and find it. You know what I mean? And so my whole thing is, I wanted to experience it. So I've always believed to an extent, but I had no idea, what is possible. Like I hardly ever use the word impossible anymore, because some of the things I've experienced were just so far beyond what I thought. I'm like, well, Jesus, I probably just touched the tip of the iceberg. I have no idea what's out there, and it's mind-boggling.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. I feel a lot the same way. Of course, I had, when I first started getting into, I hate this terminology, but, official research, paranormal research. It was
Right. Once you establish an acronym, you are official, right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But
And that's part of what I've always had a little bit of an issue with. Is like, if you don't have some clever acronym with the letter P in there because it's got to have paranormal, it's like you're not official.
right.
And so to me, like, one of the best things out of all of the most recent work that I've done is I've been able to just look myself in the mirror and be like, I'm doing this really for me and my soul. And the people that I trust the most, the people I care about the most, are the people that I work with. And I have no need or desire to peddle my work under some kind of acronym, and I don't have any interest in, we tried the whole network thing, and frankly, the network thing brought me and you together, and so
Right.
I'm eternally grateful for that.
Yes.
But in the end, it's like, I'm doing this for my soul. I need my answers, and I work with people that I feel like are kind of the same way, and so I was able to leave all that paranormal community drama bullshit behind, and frankly, now until the day I die, I'm going to keep doing what I do, and I will allow my work to speak for itself. And again, I don't put myself on the line as part of my job to prove or to convince anybody of jack shit.
Yep.
And so when I have somebody coming to me being like, you're full of it, okay, and like, what? Yeah, that's the right answer, really, to be honest, because you weren't there. You probably should think I'm full of it.
Right.
But
yeah.
I don't. And you know what? If anybody can shoot a hole in my integrity, by all means, take your shot. But I've got no reason to lie. I've got no reason to try to, pull one over on anybody. I'm out there doing what I do, and I've been fortunate enough, I think, to be able to think, because, like I said, a lot of people just kind of dovetail off of what's on TV and everything, and I'm blessed with the mind that thinks outside of the box. And so when I get down to business, I come up with some original shit, and I commit to it, and I try to experiment, and I try to come up with a new way. And if people don't buy it, I don't really care. I guess is the bottom line.
Right.
I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah. And it's like, probably one of the things, and I know I've heard you talk about this specifically before, but when it seems like invariably, when I'm talking to someone, relatively new, that I haven't spent a lot of time with before, invariably, your book, the Agony That Remains, comes up, and they've either read the book or they haven't, and I'm just kind of telling them about some of the stuff that you experienced and that we experienced down there, and they're for they're engrossed and enthralled for about 5 minutes, and then it's like, okay,
and eventually tell you you're full of shit.
Yeah, eventually the gears shift, and they're like, that's too much. That's bullshit. No, I'm calling bullshit. And I'm like, well, think what you want to think. I was there. I experienced it. I know what happened, but you can think what you want to think about it. That's no skin off my back.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And then here's the deal. I tried to make it as clear as I could possibly make it because, again, I knew when I sat down to write that book, I was like, oh, man, I mean, just prep yourself because you're going to catch it from all angles. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to just write the dictionary of paranormal activity and everything happened. And again, this happened it was over 5 years. I went down there. I couldn't even tell you 50 times. I mean, who knows? And so that perspective, I was hoping people would be able to kind of keep that in mind. But you're right. When you're turning the pages and it's like, what? Like, okay, this happened, and then the next page, holy shit, this happened. I get it. I do get it, and I understand. And I don't hold anybody. I don't have any ill will toward anybody. You can call me crazy. You can call me full of shit. You can do what you got to do. But again, I will tell you flat out to your face. I really don't give a rat's ass what you believe. That's not my job. That's up to you. I mean, I just don't care.
Exactly.
And so, but you're right. It's a lot to take in. I mean, shit.
Aww.
I read some of the reviews, and I mean, some people were just like, oh yeah, this guy. What a psychopath. I mean, this guy. If it's not aliens, it's demons, it's Bigfoot, it's you name it, dude. The fucked up thing is, go down there.
Right.
Try it on for size, and you come back and tell me. I mean, I didn't believe all of it. That's why I went down there, and it was crazy.
And
it was hard. It was hard to write that book and call it nonfiction. It really was.
I have actually wondered if you struggled with that, because I mean, just thinking about putting all of that on paper. I never will forget when you and I first showed up there, and we were taking our first little walking tour with one of the brothers down there. And he was telling us all of these stories from his childhood and as they grew up and stuff that still happens. And it's he the entire time he was just telling us ghost stories. But Brandon and I, who had been doing this for a little while, and we're hearing all of this stuff. We're not just hearing ghost stories. We are hearing ghost stories, but we're also hearing UFO stories. We're hearing Bigfoot stories. We're hearing, magical realm stuff. It's just, it's not just ghost stories. But this guy, that's what really moved me was his earnestness, because he was just telling us ghost stories.
And that was the thing. He was talking about little people. He was talking about aliens. He was talking about Bigfoot. He was talking about ghosts and demons, and you name it. And you and I kept pausing and looking at each other like, what is this knucklehead? Like, what is happening right now? We even had to take a couple breaks during the walkthrough because I was like, man, let's go. This guy's a psychopath. And but Here's the deal. I hold strong to this. I don't judge anybody based on a story I'm told. I don't. But man, this guy was pushing my limits, and I was
Right.
like, man, you sir have got to slow down. But throughout that first night, what we experienced about half of what he told us.
Yeah.
It was like, what just happened? I mean, oh my God. Of course I want to do a project down here. I mean, this place is ridiculous.
So, Brandon, I have a question for you. So, somebody would like to know. Let's see. What do you think makes that area so wildly active with paranormal activity and things?
Well, okay, so when you drive through a big city, you've always got those like on the highways, you've got like the spaghetti junction, you know, where there's like every direction intersects all at once, and there's exits going in all other directions. So it's total chaos, right? And that's what Tahlequah basically is. It is an energy spiritual highway of total chaos, because it culminates. The ley lines culminate in, I mean, it's one of the biggest clusters of intersecting ley lines in the entire United States. And so basically you're catching it from all angles. And when I started doing deeper research on it and everything else, the Trail of Tears, where the Cherokee originated and marched from North Carolina and the places over in the South, you know, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, they were marched. It was the death march across in the middle of the winter. And the Trail of Tears, there's several different trails. If you look it up, there's 3 or 4 different main trails. But the one that caught my eye actually follows a ley line almost to a T. It goes from North Carolina, it comes to the west, and then it actually veers upward, and that's where another ley line goes diagonal as opposed to the one it had been following. And then it cuts back down to another one that was going in another diagonal direction, and it all comes together in Tahlequah, where there's like 6 or 8 intersecting lines right there. And you don't find clusters like that on the mainland very much. And so to me, it's like the energy that was coming along with it. Think about it. Thousands and thousands of these people were forcibly removed from a place that they had been for hundreds and hundreds of years and were thriving. And, you know, evil white man comes and marches their asses. You know, they kill them. They mutilate them. They torture them along the way. They let them freeze to death and everything else. So imagine that energy just being carried across half the country, and it gets dropped right there in Tahlequah.
Right.
And these are very spiritual people. These are people that are very in touch with the universe and the world and energy. And if you're thinking that they didn't bring something with them that might cause a little bit of chaos later on, I think you may need to dig a little bit deeper into what you're trying to, you know, if you're out there trying to catch an orb on camera when you should be looking at history, and you should be understanding, you know, this physical life that we have right now is a real temporary holdover. We have just this crappy little casket for our soul, and once it wears out, our soul, where does it go? I mean, does it evaporate, or, you know, whatever?
Right.
But again, this is my belief. You know, I'm not trying to spin religion on anybody or anything else, but in my opinion, it all adds up.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we follow these lines, and we follow the history, and frankly, it tells its own story. And all Tahlequah did was prove it. Like it really did, because I had this ley line theory worked up, and I thought it was going to be a way that we could almost scientifically make progress on the ability to anticipate different locations that would just naturally be more energetic and prone to paranormal activity.
Right.
And I think what Tahlequah did is it proved my theory, is what it did. And so, hey man, I mean, I was thankful and still excited, because there's so much left to do. But that would be really it. It's just this natural hotspot for just all kinds of energy. it's close to fault lines. I mean, you name it. It's just it's a culmination of nature, is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
wow.
Absolutely. And everything that you just kind of went through and talked about with the Trail of Tears and how the Trail of Tears actually fairly closely follows some of the ley lines coming across from the east. And I have to wonder. Okay, so. I just, of course, you're far more knowledgeable on ley lines than I am. That's just never been a real a big point of study for me. But I have to wonder, okay, which one's the cart and which one's the horse? Were the ley lines already there, and that was just kind of what they were drawn to for the trail coming across? Or did they leave the ley lines in their wake with all this horrible energy of all the horrible shit that was happening coming across?
I think I can answer that, and put it this way: when humans act, and humans are made to go in one direction or another, but by something, call it divine intervention or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, of course, I had to ask that question. I don't know how many times, and what I ultimately ended up finding that I believe is when you look at some of these intersecting points, and I'm not talking about the big cluster in Tahlequah, because there's intersecting ley line points all over the place. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to find them. What you find oftentimes is where these ley line points intersect, you find churches, you find historical monuments like Stonehenge, you find the pyramids, you find graveyards, you find all kinds of things that are usually really tied to spirituality in history. And so to me, there's a natural draw. Now, what made the people build Stonehenge where it's built? That I don't know. That knowledge and that perspective is still beyond my reach. But clearly it has some kind of meaning. There's something up in the Northeast. I can't remember exactly where it is, but they call it the Stonehenge of North America, and I want to say it's in. I don't think it's in Vermont, but it's right up there in the Northeast. And the thing is, there's an opening, almost like a target site, and it points in the exact direction of Stonehenge, and they follow the same exact ley line that comes across the ocean, and it carries on through the United States. And so, to me, we talk about the Aztecs and all these old civilizations that some people think were so much more advanced than even we are.
Right.
Whatever happened to bring that back, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I think in the end it's all about, it's like almost like a magnetism, and I think when you see it like a trail of tears following ley lines, I think it was like a magnetism. It was almost like whether they planned it or not, this is how they were going to travel, and that's just the way that it was going to be. It was almost like it was predetermined. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think my bottom line is that the earth and energy is so much more palpable than we can seriously wrap our minds around. And there's some nights where it quite literally almost drives me crazy if it hasn't already, because these are the answers that I'm looking for. Is why, like what makes this so? And frankly, I'm just too stupid to know the science behind a lot of it. So I try to do a lot of reading. I try to do a lot of reaching out to people that are a little bit more, I guess, well versed in certain aspects of it. But I do think there's something beyond even the ley lines that I think is going to uncover a lot of detail, and I think the answers are just beyond our fingertips. Now I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, before we know it, if we know too much, maybe we regret knowing so much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But But I do think there's another layer to the onion here that I'm working on trying to unpeel, and think that it could turn out to really start bringing a lot of answers to questions that have been completely unanswerable for thousands of years.
I can really appreciate that point of view. I don't remember which guest it was, but we had a conversation with a guest on the show fairly recently about how I personally believe that in modern human civilization has forgotten more stuff like that than we'll probably ever know again.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were just talking about all these ancient things like Stonehenge and the pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids, the Mayan pyramids, the Chaco Canyon,
Right.
and all of this stuff that that there was so much knowledge and understanding and wisdom, not just from a lot of people nowadays would scoff at calling it technology, but it's a technological standpoint. But that not just knowledge from a technological standpoint, but spiritual knowledge as well, in just a general wisdom of the universe that we live in that went into planning and building these places. And
Right.
it just the cultures that surround that. I personally believe that a lot of that stuff, that knowledge that we had back then, has just been forgotten in the age of technology as we know it nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. And remember too, when it comes down to it, like what I think we lose perspective on a lot of times is just how minuscule our physical Earth is. Like if you just look up and you look out and you think of things in terms of dimensions and space. I mean, it would, like I said, you could drive yourself completely insane in a heartbeat, because what I'm looking into is so focused on such a small little dust particle of reality.
Right.
And that's where I think naturally we have to start looking at, okay, maybe the ley lines can tell us that here's where the veil between these dimensions is a little bit thinner. And before you know it, you're going to have to understand that, if you believe, let's just use it as an example. If you believe in heaven and hell, the way that it's taught is heaven is kind of in the clouds, kind of in this, cloudy, perfect, special place, where hell is the, hell's, fire and brimstone, and it's down and it's ugly. But in reality, what ultimately we can find is, when we're investigating these places, that what really exists is hell can be right. The dimension of hell can be right in front of you, or you could be standing in it and you wouldn't see it, because your mind can't transform itself to visualize what you're in the middle of. Same with heaven.
Right.
And so, in the end, it's like it could be right next to you, and I do think there's something to the fact that when we're picking up EVPs, it could be interdimensional. That you're picking it up. It's an energy that's there, but it's not in our reality. That's why you're not seeing the source of it a lot of times. But I just think in a lot of ways the paranormal world and community of research, I do love everybody that has the curiosity. I love everybody that goes out there to try to find answers. But I just feel like overwhelmingly the paranormal community doesn't take seriously enough the idea that what we're doing when catching an EVP is just tip of the iceberg. Like, we've got to be better than that. We've got to be more forward thinking than that. We've got to do more research than that. And it's hard ass work. It is hard work.
Yes.
And so it's not a hobby. If you really want to try to progress things and find some real answers, you commit to it. And that's why, I found myself working my 40-hour-a-week job, but then I'll top it off with 20 to 30 hours on a weekend or a week with my other research. It's what's required to really try to find progress.
Well, yeah, absolutely, because it's so if we just want to talk about just strictly the investigation aspect of it.
I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if Brandon can see
So Tammy Jackson Trishel from the She Squatchers just popped into the chat and said, "Hi, Brandon."
What's up, Tammy?
The She Squatchers. I didn't know if you were familiar with them or not. It's a all woman Sasquatching team. They were at the KC Paracon.
Yes. I know Jen, and yeah, I've met a few of them in passing. I'm sorry, Tammy, if I don't know. Like I said, I'm on Facebook list for now months, and I couldn't be happier. Although I don't get to keep up, with some of the people and things that I'm interested in. But yeah, very familiar with the She Squatchers for sure.
Yeah. What I was saying is that, if you just want to tackle just strictly the investigation, the physical investigation aspect of what we do, so if you sit down, if you sit down and do, let's just make it easy and small and call it a 3-hour investigation, which we all know these things never just last 3 hours. It's if you're going to do one, you're going to do it right and probably, hit 4, 5, 6, 8 hours, at least. Right. So anyway, but if you have, let's just call it an easy night and say you have 2 voice recorders and 2 cameras running. Well, on a 5-hour investigation, that's all of a sudden 20 hours worth of shit that you got to look over.
It is a shitload of information. And you know what? Here's the deal. Oh my God, dude. And you know me, the second I get out of that car, I am running something.
Yep.
From start to finish. I swear to you, I've missed a couple things in my time, and I swore to myself I would never miss it again. Mm-hmm. I won't even get out of that car without at least a recorder running.
Yep.
And so, yeah, dude, I am bringing back, let's say one night in Oklahoma, I'd go down there. I'm just counting in my head, minimum 4 to 6 recorders, 3 to 5 cameras, and there is nonstop from, let's say we get there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we leave at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Do the calculation, and you tell me
that's
how fast times. You're going to get through.
I mean,
my God.
It is really
I shit
easy.
You not. I'm bringing back well over 100 hours of audio and video every single trip, and we're talking 50+ trips. And I will admit right here, right on the spot, I have not reviewed every single thing that was recorded over the course of 5+ years in Oklahoma.
How can you?
I know there may be the gold mine of all gold mines sitting on my damn computer right now, and I haven't reviewed it because holy shit, 800 hours of audio and video is really fucking hard to go through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Like, I try to be as thorough as I can, and I mark everything I can. And if I think something happened, I'll go. But some of the best EVPs that I've ever caught, or some of the best camera footage I've ever caught, was shit that I didn't know at the time. And yeah, there's a lot that, I've got archives, man. One of these days, who knows? We'll all sit down and go through it, and I don't even know what the hell's sitting on there. Probably a lot.
Yeah. Well, I've got I can see it from where I'm sitting right now. I've got a hard drive from one of my old computers that I have to get transferred. I have to get transferred over to something that I can actually access and use. But it's got all of my old. It's like 2 terabytes, and that is nothing but cut and clipped evidence. You know,
I mean, think about it. And if people don't know the scope of what you're talking about, like 2 fucking terabytes, like, good luck, dude. I mean, you
Right?
spend all day, every day for the next 10 years, and you might get through that shit. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe.
Right, yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's actual work, you know, and all of that we were just talking about, that's not talking about the actual research that goes into sitting down and talking to people, going to a library, going to a county records archive, going, to all actual footwork that actually gives you leads on, potential directions a case may turn.
Oh man. Well, you know me. Like when I'm doing the ley line shit, you have to remember I am literally starting from scratch. Nobody has called me. Nobody has reached out to me. I am simply applying the information that I have, and I'm diving down. Look, first thing I do, I pinpoint the intersection, and then I say, okay, Oklahoma, got it. Then I zoom in, and then I'm like, okay, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, blah, blah, blah. And I start just trying to dive in. And before I know it, I'm 10 hours balls deep in research about a place I've never been, I know nothing about. I don't know I don't even know what I'm looking for.
Right.
But I'm 10 hours deep in research, and next thing you know, I was reaching out to the Cherokee Nation down in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and within a couple days or weeks, whatever it might have been, I got a correspondence back, and the next thing I know, I'm on the Allen property down there. But man, yeah, like right now, I'm like, okay, well, how do I tie this project together? I'm somewhat focused on the ley lines because I think it's an important aspect of the whole overall story. But I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, now I gotta knuckle it down to this place, that place, and the other, and I try not to miss the most important shit. And so yeah, it's a project, man. I mean, that's what it is. If and when this documentary, well, let's say when, I'm gonna be optimistic. When this documentary gets done, it's gonna be like a decade of my life, dude.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like this is gonna be a 10-year commitment for me to try to tell a story worth telling. And frankly, I don't care about making any money off it. It'd be nice, but at the same time, it's like, no, I mean, I feel like these stories are worth the effort. They're worth the energy. They're worth the time. Because you read a history book and you're reading you want to talk about fiction, read a history book. There's a whole lot of fiction up in there.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm trying to find the real, and people tell the real, and facts tell the real, and that's what I'm trying to do. And so I've committed to it. But it is. I mean, the amount of work that goes into it is absurd. It's completely insane.
Yes, absolutely. I really appreciate what you said about the money aspect of it, because it would be damn nice to make some money off of doing this, but you know what, you can't,
well, sure.
you cannot attack this from that standpoint. A TV deal would be nice, but it's not likely to happen.
Jeremiah, I'm gonna have you bite. I'm gonna have you bite your tongue for just a second, because I guess the worst thing in my mind is having some dipshit that's never been anywhere near any of it, that's never done an ounce of work. Some fucking producer is gonna come to me and be like, I'm gonna give you a few dollars and you're gonna give me your work. Well, guess what? You could just kiss my ass. Like that is why I am a big proponent of independent filmmaking.
Oh yeah,
independent research. Because what we will establish eventually is we need to establish a true network of organized, intelligent people that know, the ins and outs of the field, and there needs to be a vetting process. There needs to be all of it, but there needs to be real information. There needs to be a network that can produce documentaries or whatever the case is, but it has to be produced in-house, because when you start talking to Hollywood, you've lost. Like you lose your creativity, you lose your perspective.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, when I was talking about the TV deal, I was just talking about the money end of it. That having the backing of a studio and that regular paycheck on it. That would be nice. But it's like, just like you said, and I have experience working with I'm okay, so I have to bite my tongue and be careful here a little bit. I have worked with a producer, and he was actually quite a successful producer, but I didn't like the direction that he wanted us to go. And I was very vocal about that.
They don't have a creative bone in their body, dude. They don't have a creative bone in their body. They have no idea what they want. All they want is, they want a pretty girl. They want a strong dude. They'll probably mix in, not trying to offend anybody, but they'll probably mix in somebody that's gay just because they need to be politically correct. And then what they're going to do is they want the wow factor. They want the jump factor.
Right.
And if you're not producing evidence, they're going to make you create evidence is what they're going to do. They have no idea what we're out there trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
Nothing. And so it's frustrating. It's a little bit infuriating. I mean, if there was a little bit of money put behind this research, I can't even imagine how incredible it would be. I mean, it could be so incredible.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to stop myself right there. I'm going to end up getting pissed off and going off on a rant, but yes, I totally get what you're saying. It has to be a work of passion. If you don't have the passion to be motivated to put that kind of effort and work into it without the dollar signs, it's never going to work anyway.
And that's, there's a little bit of a catch-22 there, because you get these offers from time to time, and it's like, do you sell your soul to the devil or do you keep your integrity? And you're right, though, a little bit of money goes a long way. Money talks, we all know it. But thankfully, I've been approached by a couple different angles about some of the stuff that I've done or am doing, and frankly, I mean, again, I go back to that whole trust your gut thing, and I mean, you can smell a rat a mile away, and it's just like, no, I'm gonna go ahead. I've got a job. I'm thankful. I'm good. I have self-funded every last ounce of gas, equipment, time, energy, computers, whatever, all of it. I have funded it, and I ain't stopping now. I mean, eventually we're gonna do something that's worth recognizing. And hey, if somebody wants to come and start bidding on it, I'll listen. But boy, you better come with it. And I'll tell you what, as soon as you introduce an editor, you can just piss right off. Period.
Right.
I mean, you're not editing my shit. That's what I do.
Yep. Yeah. No, I totally get that. I absolutely agree 100% on that. You know what?
Yeah.
It's already 8:23, dude.
Damn, time flies. Brandon, I have to tell you that I'm pretty sure that you got the record for Stephanie being the most quiet on any show ever before.
I'm like, well, you get me going. What do you want me to do?
No. I'm saying that we finally struck pot of gold with a conversation that I enjoyed listening. I enjoyed not really interacting much and just listening to you guys talk.
Yeah, she's not usually very quiet.
Well, you know what? Well, I'll tell you what. nothing is worth doing if you're not passionate about it.
Amen
right?
to that
And
one.
So when you guys bring me on, and I'm raring to go. Like I said, I sent you that message. I was like, so what the fuck? I mean, like, I'm waiting for my phone to ring. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. But no, hey, anytime. I always love talking to you guys.
Oh yeah, for
Yes.
sure. Hey, I
Well,
got.
and
I do have a
haven't
question.
had-
I do have a question. One last
Yeah.
question, if you can talk about it. So, one of the people watching would like to know. Can you go into detail about? Sorry, this is like probably way backtracking, but that's okay. Just one simple question. I don't know if there's a simple answer or not, but she would like to know if you can go into detail about any of the. Did she use the word creature? Ghosts? Can you go into detail about what some of the stuff when you like the book about Tahlequah, some of the stuff you guys saw? Can you go into detail about what you physically like what you saw, as in like a ghost or a Sasquatch or a UFO or whatever?
Just pick one.
Yeah, just go into detail about one.
I was gonna say, that's the hell of a question to ask when we're wrapping up, right? Like,
I
do you
know,
got another hour?
I know.
No, well, I'll tell you what. The one thing, as far as seeing something that really, to this day, has completely blown my mind. We were in a local cemetery there, not too far from the property, and I was with one other guy, and we had this experience where he didn't see it. Matter of fact, there was kind of this weird distraction thing going on with him, which made me kind of feel like it was by design.
That happens a
creatures
lot
that-
at that cemetery, by the way.
Where is the cemetery?
Whole
that-
distraction
that-
thing.
That cemetery doesn't mess around. Like it does target, and it targeted me this time. And so I had heard this ruckus coming through the woods. It's surrounded by really thick woods, and when you kind of, I heard it coming, and so my eyes focused over. And usually when you're looking for something that made a noise in the woods, you have to kind of scan around and look for it. Well, this son of a bitch was right there. Like, I looked right at it. It looked right at me. Originally, it looked like a person kind of leaning up against a tree, but I couldn't put a lot of detail to it. And the next thing I knew, this is the short version, by the way. Next thing I knew, this thing kind of turned toward me and started morphing and growing, and it looked like it was made out of mirrors. Just like if you watch the movie Predator, when that thing's in its stealth mode, like, it looked like this creature was made out of the exact same shit. It looked like it was made out of mirrors. It had a head, and it had like a shoulder, and like a torso, like a figure. And it got so big that it actually physically brushed through two trees that Jeremiah couldn't touch with his wingspan. When he tried, I pointed him to the trees, and he couldn't touch. And I was like, holy shit, this thing was 10, 12 feet tall.
Was it an alien? What was it?
I will say that the documentary is going to expand on this subject to a great extent. Just a hint, drop a hint there.
Gotcha. My curiosity is piqued yet again.
Yeah, well, this thing was legit. Like, what it did is it kind of hypnotized me a little bit. Like, we were eye to eye, even though it didn't have eyes that I could determine. But it locked onto me, and I locked onto it. I couldn't move. We had kind of a visual interaction of about 3 minutes. It felt like an eternity, of course. I mean, usually when something paranormal happens, it's like the blink of an eye. This was like a 3-minute, holy shit, what am I looking at? And eventually it kind of almost stormed back off into the woods, kind of the similar fashion that it came. Like, it rolled into a ball and just took off. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life until, there's your
okay.
cliffhanger. I'll leave that for the documentary.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, thank you for answering that. But I'm just like, that reminds me of, you remember the movie on Netflix? Well, not exactly, but it kind of reminds me of it. The Ritual, where at the very end, the Jotun or the giant, whatever, they would like have them mesmerized and then eat them. Like, They'd be, convinced they're looking at one thing when in reality they're not. They're looking at something completely different.
I don't know if he's probably seen that or not, but
Well, it's a good movie. It's called The Ritual. It's on Netflix. But anyways,
This thing could have been anything. I don't know. Some people are like, well, everybody thinks of Bigfoot as this big hairy creature, right? And I don't know that that's really what it is. I kind of push back a little bit on the Bigfoot theories because I do feel like there's something, and I do feel like it's legitimate, but I don't think the majority of people that are looking for Bigfoot are looking in the right mindset personally. My interactions with what I would figure to be something like a Bigfoot is a lot of the communication can be received just the same way as an EVP. I feel like a Bigfoot is an interdimensional creature that can come and go, which is why it's so good at hide and seek. But I don't know. I've never really subscribed wholeheartedly to they're in the woods, they build their camp and everything else.
Yeah.
I feel like they can kind of come and go. But again, I don't know if this was a partial manifestation of something like that. It could be. But I also think that a Bigfoot could very easily be some sort of an alien type creature from, a different alternate dimension. So I feel like to an extent, maybe that's what it was. Whether it was an alien, a Bigfoot, I don't know. It didn't have the features of a traditional Bigfoot type creature. Like I said, it looked like it was made out of mirrors. It was almost reflective.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's talking along those lines. Of course, they're well, you mentioned it. The prevailing theories about Bigfoot tend to be that it's the undiscovered species of North American great ape. But I have to admit I tend to kind of waver back and forth on that. And most of the time, that's the camp that I'm in. But you really get into research about it, and there is a lot of convincing evidence to the contrary.
See, well, so Brandon, I think you already know. I think you already noticed about me, but when it comes to UFOs, I'm convinced I've seen UFOs. Convinced of it. Spirits. I've seen spirits. You know what I'm saying? I've heard things, but jury's still out for me on Bigfoot because I've never had any kind of a personal experience in relation to a Bigfoot sort of thing. So I just don't know.
Right.
I just personally don't know. But I think that's almost, you got to give somebody credit for not just blindly believing in something.
Well,
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I'm just saying I personally have not had, any kind of a personal experience with any kind of interaction with something that could be considered like a Bigfoot,
Well, because and Stephanie, as I talked about earlier, I appreciate that because you haven't experienced it. So
right,
you're non-committal about it, which makes that's an endearing thing. That's what we should be doing.
Exactly.
Is saying, I don't know, but I need to look harder.
Yeah.
And now I will say this. Once this project's all said and done, I will be absolutely prepared to stand right next to any Bigfoot enthusiast out there, and I will say, "Here's my presentation. Now show me yours." And I promise you, I'm very confident in what I have. Very confident in saying that. Now I don't know that we're necessarily working with something that is a primate that is living in the woods. I will absolutely. And I'll die on that hill too. I'll say flat out, this thing 10, 12 feet tall. This thing is not of this earth. This thing is not of this dimension. And it sure as shit is not a monkey living in the woods.
my God.
And so I will. I will put my evidence against anybody's. And I will not hesitate. I will not back down. And you can verify it. You can run it through whatever tests you need to run through. I'm telling you, on the raw footage alone, no editing whatsoever, minds will be blown completely.
I'm
I'm excited about this.
well, like I said, it took me a minute because I was with a buddy of mine. I think you met Larry when you were at Kansas City
Oh, yeah,
Paracon
yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good dude. And so he and I had gone down there, and I had told him the story, of course. And sure enough, I mean, you want to talk about just I thought I was gonna have to change his diaper or something because I mean, and it happened exactly like I described. I mean, I couldn't have been more thrilled because, despite the fact that I'll sit here and I'll tell you, I don't want to try to convince anybody of anything. But when it comes to the most intense thing you've ever seen in your entire life, when the guy next to you sees it and I see it for the second time and you catch it on camera, it's like, that's a pretty satisfying thing. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so maybe I'm not completely batshit crazy. I'm mostly batshit crazy, but I know what the hell I saw, and I was not making shit up. And pretty soon, everybody's gonna get to see it. And
That's awesome.
It is
I'm excited.
absolutely mind bending. It's incredible.
I'm very, very excited for all this. What?
Damn straight, you're gonna be at the premiere too, wherever it might be.
Awesome.
Assuming we're loud, I don't know, whatever. Corona.
Yeah, Corona can kiss my ass. I won't miss it. So.
Well, another topic for another day.
I know,
if you
right?
guys want to do it if you guys want to just jump into a conspiracy episode, Stephanie, you said you listened to that podcast.
Oh my
I'm
God.
ready when you guys are.
I did. I listened to it. Jeremiah, did you listen to it?
Yes, I did. I listened to it as well, and so yeah.
That's like the one great thing about the fact that some of the patients I go see are like over an hour from where I start my day, so I have plenty of time, to listen to stuff, and it was incredible because when you guys filmed that was like pretty well right at the beginning of the pandemic. So a lot of people didn't know.
We recorded it in March, and
Yeah.
it was like maybe a week and a half after everybody locked down.
Yeah.
I told Jason and Josh, I was like, look, fellas, this has got to happen because, damn it, I will be on record for this shit because I know how this fucking game works.
Right.
And sure enough, I mean, it's almost like the playbook. We outlined the entire playbook from March until now.
They did, and
Yep.
and if you didn't realize that, if somebody was just listening to that, they would be convinced that you were discussing it like now, like talking about the past few months, what went down. But in reality, you called that shit out before it happened, and even the time frame, the fucking time frame of how things played out.
I know. In order of how it's going to happen. Yeah, I know. Here's the deal. And again, I know we got to wrap. I wish we didn't. I mean, you guys got 2.5 hours, right? You got another hour in you. I'm kidding. So the thing is, my background, my background was a military background. I worked in intelligence. I worked in messaging. I worked in computer operations and everything else. And so here's the deal. I mean, there are certain things I got to tread a little bit lightly with, but the bottom line is, when the first thing you need to understand is what you are being fed, and you're being force fed. You're on a chair, tied down, mouth held open, and you're gagging on this shit while it's going down your throat. That's the media for you.
Oh,
and the second you come to terms and grips with that, you start to put together the playbook, and the playbook hasn't changed for thousands of years. I mean, power is power. That's what these people want. And so, I mean, like I said, it didn't take much for us to say, oh, well, yeah, 15 days to flatten the curve. Well, what are we, day 207 now of 15 days to flatten the curve, and not everything. Look, this is not a new game.
The curve had been flattened.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, not to mention you're doing all this shit to begin with without a shred of fact. I mean, it was all speculation, and it was all fear. I mean, nobody said, here's what it is, here's how you get it, and why. I'm sorry, but you don't shut down a country like the United States of America without having some of those answers on the spot. Like, America should have just thrown up its middle finger and be like, hey, come back to me when you got something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, okay. Not to demean. Like I said, I understand this thing is real. I do, and I know it has devastated people and families. I get it, but my God, you give these people one single inch, and they will take it all.
Yep.
And it's been step by step by step, and this is a known playbook. This is a flat out. Like you said, you go back and listen. It's the Ectoplasm Show. I can't remember what the episode number is, but the Ectoplasm Show is in March. And I mean, we just drew out the playbook for you, and 6 months later or whatever we're at now, I mean it just is what it is. And when people just don't want to know the truth, that's
it's
fine.
episode 326. Episode 326 on the Ectoplasm Show.
We'll put that.
I recommend you check. I recommend you check it out because it like I said, it's not to do an I told you so, but it's to highlight the fact that we are more powerful and intelligent than we are given credit for being. And the playbook is known. The playbook is public. It's just you have to look for it, and you have to understand these gajillionaires, billionaires, trillionaires. They don't want you knowing shit.
It's
you
utopia.
do very well for them.
It's
as
utopia
chiefs.
for real.
I'm telling you, I'm serious. So anyway, I do recommend people give that a listen. And when you guys want to put together something seriously, I would love to break it down. I mean,
I'm
hell,
thinking
preferably let's do it before let's do it
before the election.
Let's do this
Yes.
in a couple weeks.
You know what? We will message you, and I bet you we can make that happen.
I bet we can.
I
Let's get
literally
it set
see.
up.
I'm psychic, Brandon. I knew you were gonna say before at the election. I knew you were gonna fucking say it. I knew you were.
Well, but you got to do it before the election
Well,
because
yes.
the bottom line is like this. And I'm not a politician. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I am a realist, and I have had some life experience that gives me confidence in the way that I feel and the way I read shit. And I'm just going to tell you, this election is going to have massive consequences one way or the other, and then that is just a simple fact.
Yep.
And some people are convinced one way, some people are convinced the other way, but I do feel like if we get the opportunity between now and then, I think it would do people well that listen to you to at least hear the sides of the story. And again, I'm not coming at it from a political approach. I'm coming at it from a dude that saw some really bad shit and was relayed to the American people as fact when it was absolute a pile of horse shit. And that woke me up, and it helps me with the perspective when I can see the shit going on right now. We're at next level, and I think people are going to have one more opportunity to really open their eyes and start to understand. And I think the sooner the better. I think people really need to know what's going on.
Right.
Again, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it just so happens that I saw a lot of shit that, really opened my eyes to a reality. It's a hard reality to accept because we are born and bred to simply be fed what they want us to know and how they want us to think. And it's of nobody's fault. You're not at fault if you've bought into it because it's by design. They need you to buy into it. That's why everybody does. But there is a reality there, and people can veer off of it. It's a very freeing thing. It frees your soul a little bit to understand the amount of just absolute trash and garbage and just bullshit that you're being fed. There are facts out there, and they're not that hard to find. But sure as shit, they are buried under the COVID story. Believe me.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we definitely need.
If you want to turn me loose for an hour or so here in a couple weeks,
yeah.
let me know.
Yes, we definitely need to do that. Absolutely, because I really want to have that conversation with you. there's a few other conversations I want to have with you as well. So we're going to have to make this a little bit more of a regular thing. So
I'm gonna say, when do I become the third wheel? I mean, what the fuck? What do we gotta do?
you know, we can make that happen if you want. So
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do a little conspiracy talk, and then we'll see how many followers you still have, and then we'll talk about. And then we'll talk about the third one. They'll be like, oh, they're about to bring this lunatic on full time. What a bunch of nuts.
oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Anyway, I am is what I am, as says Popeye. So we'll reconvene, and I think it'd be a fun conversation. I do.
Hell
it's
yeah.
intense.
Hell
it
yeah.
really is. You gotta prep yourself for some soul searching on that one, because it gets pretty legit, pretty hard. But I do think it's important. I think it's important that people just start to understand maybe another perspective on how to digest information, because there's always a little truth in what you're being fed. Always. That's how they keep you hooked. But I do think it's important that people start understanding and you taking it in and saying, you know, maybe I need to take that angle and look into it from another perspective. And it really is. It's a freeing thing. It's pretty amazing.
I can agree with that 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I can completely get behind that. So I think that kind of thing is largely lost in society today, and we, you know, it's something that how do you say this in English? It's like it's something that is it's lost and it's overlooked, and it's something that is much needed. I'll say it like that, and we can dig into it more on our next show.
Well, and I'll tell you what, just to give the listeners a little bit of food for thought, is social media, all of it. Doesn't matter what site. Social media is 1,000,000% a designed, pre-planned social experiment that was designed to manipulate minds, to separate people, and to cause all kinds of division and deception.
Yep.
If you just simply look at what gets censored, if you look at what sites promote this or that or the other, it does not take long to figure out, holy shit, they are spinning something to me, at me. They are trying to manipulate the way that I think. And this is all by design. If you think that MySpace was the first idea of social media, you're nuts. We're talking about decades. You have to remember, we don't have access to all the technology that exists. All this shit you see right now is brand spanking new. Your iPhone 12 or whatever the fuck version it's on, you're telling me that they don't have something in the variation of a cell phone that is about 1,000,000 times more amazing than what you're holding in your hand and just spend $1,500 for? I mean, come on, people. We gotta be a little bit more in tune with, you know, let's tune in a little bit. I guess. I don't know. Am I sounding condescending? Do I need to go? I gotta go.
Yeah, we are going to have to go, but we will definitely get that set up, because this is, as always, it's always amazing to talk to you, brother. So, absolutely.
Well, I love you guys. We'll
we love
we'll
you
talk
too.
soon. You guys
Tell your wife that we appreciate you getting to borrow you.
Yeah. Well, you got to send condolences to Mahomes too. You took me away from Mahomes, and that's a problem.
All right,
anyway,
Brandon.
all right,
Good
guys.
night. Take
Hey,
care.
stay safe.
We'll be in touch.
Stay healthy.
Bye.
All right, yeah.
And I do want to thank everybody that tuned in. So hopefully we'll talk here in a couple weeks.
Oh, fuck yeah, we
that
will.
sounds awesome.
We will
I'm
make that
down.
happen.
Alright.
We will make that happen.
Yep.
All right,
All right, bye.
cool. All right, have a good night, guys.
You too.
Good night, buddy.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Oh, that was cool. Oh, that was cool. We're gonna have to. And I want to say that we have. Yeah, we still have an opening before the election.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you for watching, and we will be here next Monday at 7 again.
Yep.
And we've got Darkness Tavern on October 17th, which is not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday, right? Ben and Claire will be on with us, along with our trusty crew.
And I think there's a third special.
Is there
guest.
another person?
Yep.
Okay, I don't know who that is yet.
As
but
well. I'm not going to say the name because I'm not totally sure on that one, but I think there is going to be a third special guest on that night.
All
so.
right. Well, you guys have a good night, and we will see you next Monday. We love you all. Bye.
Come hang out with us again as we shake hands with the shadows.